I am a god, you dull creature, and I will not be bullied by that.
Well, well, well. Now isn't this convenient timing to be dropping a surprise selection pack? So just a fair warning to everyone watching this video, Tier Element is coming. It is definitely coming. This selection pack, don't get it twisted, is 100% pure bait to get you guys to use up all your gems before the brand new pack comes in, which is going to be absolutely game changing, which is one you're going to want to have a bunch of gems for. So keep that in mind. Although I'm dumb enough to go into this pack, you shouldn't be. And for the record, this isn't me doing some sort of tinfoil hat conspiracy stuff. This pack is incredibly sus. They released it after only 1 day of announcement. They've never done that before. They've released it about 2 weeks earlier than they normally do pack releases, which is incredibly sus. We have someone that does quite reliable leaks that didn't think this pack was coming for God knows how long, and there was like no indication in any game files of any of these cards or any of this pack to be released at all. They've 100% released this to try to sort of suck all your gems from you, so don't be fooled. With all that being said though, I'm basically a vacuum cleaner willing to suck up any sort of content Konami throws at me, so without further ado, let's check out this new RA support. So here's today's deck list. Now just a reminder before I get into the deck list, if you're enjoying today's video and want to see more content just like this in the future, especially if you're a returning viewer, so apparently about 50% of people watching this or even subscribed to the channel, then need all of you returning viewers who have seen my content before. So if you find yourself keep coming back to the channel and want to see more content just like this in the future, remember to leave a like on this video and consider subscribing to the channel down below. Also I have a whole bunch of videos planned around this new selection pack coming up, including Witchcrafter, Crawler, maybe some Mayakashi, so if you're interested in any of those videos, remember to like the video and consider subscribing. Alright, let's get into the RA support. So today's deck list is obviously Numeron Ra, which is sort of a deck combination you guys might have seen before, as it's generally considered the most competitive way to play Ra, since generally, despite even with the new support, the God cards are still going to be the God cards, and their effects are still incredibly mediocre, so in general, trying to play pure God just is not a good idea if you want to be able to sort of win some games. But playing it with Numeron means you get easily access to a billion tributes and allowing you to OTK a very consistent amount of the time. The new card for this deck list is going to be the True Sun God, which is a card that is basically just on activation, add any of your Winged Dragon of Ra cards to your hand, any of them at all. That includes just a copy of Winged Dragon of Ra, includes the most important one, Ancient Chant, or you can even just add a Sphere mode to hand, which is, by the way, probably a reason this card might see some competitive play outside of Ra deck lists, because a deck like Runic that might actually just really want to get a hold of their Sphere mode to sort of break your opponent's field, now has 3 extra ways to search for it, so pretty powerful card in potentially other deck lists, but even in this one it's obviously an insane card because it can search for Ancient Chant, which is a card which, as you guys know, can search for Ra, banish it from your graveyard, normal summon your Ra, it gains a billion attack based on the cards tributed, and all of a sudden you just have lethal on field. On top of its search, this card does come with a couple of other really important effects too. Monsters except the Winged Dragon of Ra cannot attack the turn they are special summoned, and keep in mind this is a continuous spell. So when you have this card face up on the field, keep in mind, if you summon a bunch of Numerons, you can't use them to instantly lethal your opponent, because obviously this card stops your cards from being able to attack on the turn they are special summoned. So it can be good to protect yourself from your opponent's monsters being able to potentially lethal you, but in general it's more of a cock block to yourself, so do keep that in mind. You cannot attack with your Numerons on the turn you summon them if you use this card. So if you plan to go for a Ra OTK, use this card. If you plan to go for a standard Numeron play, don't activate it. Alright, once per turn during your main phase, you can send this card from the field, or 1 Winged Dragon of Ra Immortal Phoenix from your deck to the graveyard, then send 1 Winged Dragon of Ra from your monster zone to the graveyard. You can activate 1 True Sun God per turn. So this second effect is quite cool, as it does allow you to just instantly send a copy of your Immortal Phoenix straight to the graveyard, which is a card which, as you guys probably know, when in the graveyard, if your Ra is removed from the field, or if it leaves the field, which it will via this card effect, you can special summon this card straight to the field, and it's a 4000 attack card that's just immune to all your opponent's card effects, and during the end phase it swaps itself over for a Sphere mode, which allows you to then summon Ra on the following turn. Now, from my experience, and I've played quite a lot of this deck list so far, I'm actually yet to resolve this sort of interaction, so if you don't particularly care too much for it, or if you just want a couple more hand traps, a couple more back row or dark holes or something, you can cut this Phoenix. I just think it's sort of more fun and more thematic to run in the deck list, but I personally haven't really encountered this sort of combo yet. But just so you know, it is in there, but you don't have to run it if you don't want to. As for the rest of the deck list, I'm sure you guys are all very familiar with most of the cards in here, so I won't bore you by going through the rest of them. If you don't know any of the cards in here, don't worry, I'll show you them during the gameplay anyway, so without further ado, let's get into the gameplay. So today I have 4 replays to share with you guys. Now before we get into them, I do want to really apologise, as I wanted to show off a whole bunch of raw OTKs, just the standard 20 billion attack OTKs, but I don't really have a whole lot of time to farm the replays, because unlike normal replays, these ones are really damn hard for me to get. Not because this deck doesn't win, as you can see I had an actual decent win rate, I even ranked up with it, but because most opponents, they just concede as soon as you break their board. Because this deck is a 2-step process. Break the board, lethal the opponent, and unfortunately, most opponents concede at step 1, if not 99% of them do. So it's really damn hard for me to show off the sort of standard OTK combo with this deck list, especially when you're playing a Numeron field spell, because as soon as you activate the field spell, a lot of opponents just see that and go, dead, so they just instantly concede. So it's really hard for me to sort of show off these really cool combo replays when your opponent just sort of concedes before I can do so. So I do apologise for that. If you do play this deck yourself, trust me, it will happen quite a lot. It's just, when I'm trying to farm replays, there's just not a whole lot of time for me to do so, and I'm already going to be like 2 hours late to this upload anyway, so hopefully you guys can forgive me for that. I do show it off a couple of times in here. I do have a bunch of sort of spicy sphere mode replays in here, but yeah, if you're wondering why I don't have too many raw OTKs, it's because most opponents are just conceding anyway, so forgive me for that. Hopefully you sort of get the gist of what this deck does just from these replays anyway, but yeah. Alright, let's get into the actual replays. So first one I reckon was Sprite, and I think most of my replays are actually against Sprite. No shock there with it being so popular, but yeah. Alright, so a fairly not so great hand. Normally you basically you want the Numeron field spell, because if you don't get a hold of a way to access it, you're not going to be able to get your tributes on the field to summon your big god card. But thankfully I do have a nice little sphere mode here, so despite him Ash Blossoming my Maxx, we're not completely doomed. Alright, summoning some boys, getting a search, grabbing his Sprite Red. A card we're definitely going to have to tribute with our sphere mode. Alright, attaching, summoning his Gale Dogra. This is going to be a nice little cringe combo here to get a hold of a Winder on the field. I actually haven't seen this variant of Sprite yet. So spoiler alert, I might actually be playing something very similar to this combo in a few days when I make my Crawler deck list, because I'm pretty sure this little combo he's doing right now with the Gale Dogra into this card going into the Winder is actually something that's used in that particular deck list. Alright. Engineer's IP Masquerade and passing the turn. Bit of a very scary board to go into, especially considering we did draw access to the field spell, but unfortunately, normal summoning this card was equal my opponent instantly Sprite Smashering it, which is not great. In fact, I think Sprite Smashers can be used on the field spell if I remember correctly, so yeah, not the greatest. But we can just sphere mode, tribute all 3 of his cards, and just pray that he didn't draw anything too amazing. Going to use our Tree God, searching for a sphere mode ourselves. And this also means our opponent can't attack us because this card's on the field, so unless he has a way to remove it, yeah, we're pretty safe. Goes to battle phase, realizes he can't attack me, and just passes the turn. Thankfully, we didn't draw access to 2 level 2s, so we can play the game. And we top deck Feather Duster. Nuking his field, he has Maxx, we don't care about that. We only do 2 summons anyway, only one of them's even a special summon. Summoning out Winder, which thankfully, although it does limit you to 1 special summon a turn, it only limits you to 1 like action of special summoning. So I can summon the 4 Numeron cards, which is lethal on field. I could even flex with the Ra combo too if I just banish this card. So I could have done the Ra combo here, but as you can see, he will just concede. And that is just the majority of my gameplay. Most of the time your opponent concedes before you can actually do the Ra combo. But this is a replay where I'm pretty sure this is the one where I actually did get it off. Alright. So yeah, once again, I do apologize for that. I did really want to show off a lot of Ra combos, and I have been recording for like, or trying to farm gameplays for like 2 hours now, 3 hours now, and it's just, I don't have enough time to keep going if I want to get this video out tonight, which I do, so I do apologize for that. But it's not like these replays should be too different from each other anyways. It's pretty standard how the Ra combo sort of works, so it's not like they're going to look particularly different even if I did farm a bunch more. Alright, so this was a pretty scuffed sort of replay. My opponent didn't really do a whole lot, but it was one of the few replays I got the sort of Ra off, so I saved it anyway. Alright, so Lightning Storm when he's 1 back row, he's obviously was already protected from the big dude here, so he didn't even need to activate this, but I guess he wanted to use it whilst this Labyrinth was still on the field, because it was about to be popped. Alright, popping his field spell, which would have been really annoying. We have Droplet, so we don't care about this card at all. Let's activate our Droplet, negating this thing so it doesn't discard a card in our hand. Summons these big dudes in the field, which just sets a card, which can't even be used this turn, so we don't care about it. And you kind of see what I mean why people would concede normally at this stage, because you're about to see me activate my Numeron Network and summon out a big Ra, which is obviously just lethal on field, so I think the main problem with this deck list is like well, the main problem with people conceding with this deck list is that it's sort of a win more strategy most of the time. Since obviously, I'm pretty sure I could just kill my opponent with these Numeron cards anyway, just swinging into this. In this case, we'll activate our card, which searches for a copy of our Ancient Chant. Ancient Chant searches for our Ra. We can then banish this card from the graveyard, allowing us to normal summon an extra time a turn with our 3 dudes on field, which will give this card an extra 3000 attack. Meaning it now has 10,000 and something, 10,900 attack, and that's just lethal on field. There is a bonus, by the way, to actually running the Ra combo in Numeron, which is normally, Numeron has one sort of weird weakness where if your opponent has no monsters on the field, you can't actually lethal them, because your monsters need to swing into something to gain their attack. But with Ra, the Ra strategy, you don't need to worry about that. You just summon your Ra and it will have whatever, however much attack plus the 1000 left from the 1 Numeron you had left on the field, and generally you can just kill your opponent from there. And even with the Ra strat using the new card, allows you to search for the other card, give your Ra an extra 3000 bonus attack, that was also just going to lethal your opponent. So there is merit to playing the Ra version of Numeron, but yeah, it's probably better to just play standard Numeron if you're going for more competitively, but obviously we're here for more fun, so alright. So this guy was playing another Sprite deck. Our hand was actually pretty sick this time. I'm not going to use my Gamma at this point, because at this point I see my opponent just going to do a bunch of Sprite stuff. No matter where I negate him here, he's still going to end on a pretty decent field. So I'm basically going to save my Gamma for the next turn to try to use it in response to one of his annoying negates when I try to use my Raigeki or with whatever card I try to use. Alright. Plus Gamma is a pretty good card to get on the field because it allows me to go into a copy of my... where is he? My Psy-Framelord Omega, which is really good in this particular deck list because normally when you have your Synchro on the field it blocks your field spell, but Omega can banish itself from the field so it doesn't block you. Alright, the Sprite Elf bringing back the Toad. I don't think he combos much further from here. I'm pretty sure he just summons like one other card, makes his IP, and then sort of passes, I think. Yeah, passes over. Alright. So from here, we just activate our attribute his stuff first. He activates Maxx. We don't really care too much. So we can just negate that. Summon our 2 dudes. And opponent conceded, so... yeah, it's an example of, again, my opponent just conceded if I could do anything. I didn't even have Ra combo to be fair there, but it was a pretty nice looking Sphere mode play anyway. Alright, final replays. This replay is going to be quite boring. I just want to show off at least one replay doing the standard Numeron stuff in case you have been living under a rock and haven't seen Numeron before. There is another win con to this deck list, isn't just doing Ra stuff. You just summon Numeron, so that's what this replay is. Opponent searches for a Martyr. We're going to now negate the Martyr. Not going to use the Ash Blossom yet because we know our opponent's playing a really annoying trap card, which we might want to potentially Ash Blossom on our following turn. Alright, summons these two dudes, goes into his Exceed, goes for a search. We're going to Ash Blossom that instead, because that's going to grab the trap card we want to Ash Blossom. Or potentially grab that, he probably would have grabbed the banished trap card. Either one would have been absolutely annoying for our combo, so... Alright, so Iron Wall, going to grab a copy of our Numeron Network, activate Numeron Calling, summon our 4 dudes. Swing with 1, boost the attack of all the others. Swing again, double the attack again. Swing again, double the attack. And there's lethal damage on field. He tries to use an Exorcist of Artist, we can Ash Blossom that. And there's this lethal. So you guys have probably all seen that before, but just in case somebody hadn't, I wanted to show off that this deck does have that alternative win con as well. Alright guys, that's going to do it for today's replays. Hope you guys enjoyed them. Again, sorry I couldn't find as many replays. Maybe in the future people won't concede as much, so... Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Hope to see you guys in the next one. Remember, I have a whole bunch of videos planned around this selection pack over the upcoming days, so yeah, remember to like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Hope to see you in the next one. Laters.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob? Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis. Oh.